Vaccination does not have this perturbation effect, so there's no risk that it's going to make matters worse, which could happen with culling. Vaccination is cheaper than culling. While culling is estimated to cost somewhere around about £4,000 per square kilometre per year, vaccination would cost less than £2,000 per square kilometre per year, so maybe half the cost. In about 2015, we hope to have an oral vaccine for badgers, which can just be given to them in peanuts, left as bait on the ground. They will come and eat it and be protected by that. So at that point, vaccination will become much, much cheaper.
The Welsh Assembly Government go on to say vaccination will not cure infected badgers or stop them from spreading the disease.
According to the Welsh Assembly's own figures, maybe 30% of badgers have TB. That's a very high estimate, but it is worth noting that if 30% of badgers have TB, that means that 70% don't. So you can still protect the majority of the population, and so we still expect the vaccine to have a very strong effect on the population. The Welsh Assembly like to say that we don't know how much effect the vaccine is going to have, whereas they'd like to harp on the fact that culling has been trialled in the field, to which you can say that, first of all, the field trial concluded that culling is not worthwhile, so you can either accept its results or reject them, but you can't pick and choose which ones you accept. But also we know that vaccination works in general, and we know that this vaccine works. It has been tested, these results have been published recently, and it actually showed that it worked very, very well indeed. Another option, rather than vaccinating badgers, is of course to vaccinate cattle. There is a vaccine for cattle. We've actually had that for quite some time. It's the BCG vaccine that many humans have had. But at the moment we cannot use that, largely because it's illegal due to EU legislation.
There are issues about whether you can export cattle that have been vaccinated. But as I understand it, the vast majority of cattle are slaughtered and consumed within the United Kingdom. So really there's no reason why you can't look at vaccination as a solution for cattle as well.
We feel it might be possible, if there were the political will, to use it in a smaller scale, say just in tuberculosis hotspots. You might argue it's a scientific trial or just an emergency measure, but that would require strong political backing from the Welsh Assembly.
But Assembly Minister for Rural Affairs, Elin Jones, seems determined to go ahead with the cull.
I find that the consultation she's put out to be very slanted towards a particular point of view. When you look at the actual questions on the consultation, it leaves you in a situation whereby if you agree with the minister, you just have to write yes. But if you disagree, you've got to write an essay on every question. And that in my view, is not a proper consultation.
There are serious concerns that a badger cull will have a negative impact on communities across the intensive action area.
The Minister has effectively blighted a large part of North Pembrokeshire, not just in terms of people being able to sell their property, but also in terms of tourism and in terms of people's view of North Pembrokeshire as a destination.
Tourism actually contributes far more than farming to the local economy in Pembrokeshire. And that has not been considered in this whole business at all.
It's caused huge problems within the community, and certainly in terms of the landowners themselves, has undermined their right to peaceful enjoyment of their own land.
We all try and live by our own beliefs in our own homes, and we're talking about access, in some instances, to people's gardens.
For you to be able to go for a walk at night on your land and encounter someone with a gun and a balaclava, and for you to have to think, oh, this is normal.
Felicia Ruperti is a member of Brithdeer Mawr farming community in Newport, Pembrokeshire.
We grow all of our own vegetables and keep animals. Working horses and goats and ducks and chickens. We try to be quite self-sufficient in our lifestyle. We also produce our own electricity, we're off-grid. And we try to live together harmoniously.
On May the 17th, 2010, the residents of Brithdeer Mawr were confronted by police officers and men in balaclavas demanding access to their land.
Around about 10 in the morning, I think it was, a Welsh Assembly Government official came with two people who we always call the ninjas. I'm not sure what they officially were. They came wearing balaclavas.
As I've explained, we do have the power of entry, okay? Are you willing for the contractors to come on, or are you going to obstruct them coming on?
He was just such a bully from the start. He just used really strong psychological tactics to try to bully people.
Yeah, it's without our consent, and that's what we've said.
Well, I understand it's without your consent, but you'll understand that under the TB eradication order, we do not require your consent.
And then all these policemen came. At one point I counted 26 policemen. And then they had like riot vans, and like our whole house just suddenly looked like it was like in a drug raid or something.
Shame on you. Shame on you.
Phoned the Welsh Assembly Government to ask if we have the right to get them to remove their balaclavas so that we can check that it does match their ID.
Oh, good point.
And the woman at the Welsh Assembly said, please could they wait here and not enter our land until she has verified that. And she's going to ring back, and there's a co-op member waiting by the phone, and she will come up and tell you as soon as she gets the answer. But please could you wait at the gate?
Do you want to go onto the land? We're asking now for cooperation.
We hadn't done anything at all. They just arrested Tony and Dylan randomly.
Arrest for obstruction, okay.
They hadn't been violent.
Well, I was shocked at the way that the government started to implement the Cull in North Pembrokeshire. I consider that to be not only heavy-handed, but an unreasonable use of government authority.
I found a team of 4 contractors, 2 policemen and 1 Welsh Assembly official already on the farm and already speaking to my elderly disabled father, who was very distressed by the whole affair. The 4 contractors were apparently wearing balaclavas. It was hard to see even that much. They had clothing pulled around their faces and they were hiding in their car. In order to force entry onto our farm, they presented their ID cards, but when we asked to see the contractors' faces to confirm the cards did belong to them, they refused to show their faces. Instead, I was arrested by the woman police officer on the grounds that, according to her, I was stealing these cards by refusing to give them back unless they showed their faces or if they agreed to leave the farm.
What are you going to say?
Mr. Wheeler,
yes?
I'm arresting you on suspicion of theft. You don't have to say anything.
I was not charged, but I was held in Haverfordwest Police Station for all of the afternoon. I was arrested about 1:30 and didn't get back until 7:30 in the evening. While I was not charged, it was admitted that I was innocent. They took my DNA, took all my details, my fingerprints, palm prints, asked me lots of questions about what my favourite pub was, and of course I now have a police record with all that. I have asked the police to delete that record as I was not charged. I was admitted to be innocent. And I've also made a complaint for wrongful arrest. To date, 6 months on, they still have not. They have sent me several letters, but they still have not made a decision about that complaint for wrongful arrest. They still have not agreed to delete my police record and my DNA.
The Welsh Assembly Government were giving extra money to the police to police the Cull, and they set up a special unit to do that. The way the police acted was with the sanction of the Assembly Government and in the presence of Assembly Government officials.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
I thought the police were out of order. I thought the police should not have acted in the way they did, but clearly the government was part of that process, and I think both were equally culpable. The solution is to try to find a way of combating BTB which the whole community can sign up to. If they trialled vaccination instead of a Cull, along with the cattle control measures in North Pembrokeshire, they would get the entire community signed up to that and cooperating with that particular way of doing things.
Eradicating TB is a very noble cause and needs to be addressed, but we would prefer that this was done through tighter cattle controls, better biosecurity on farms and ultimately vaccination.